Hello and welcome to Creative Control, the entertainment podcast. I'm your host, Kenan, and thank you for joining us on today's episode. Today, we are covering everything from San Diego Comic-Con 2024. We'll be covering Marvel, DC, a bunch of other shows as well. We have to break down all the news and go through it. Joining me from the Creative Control team today, we have Neil, the tribal boss. How you doing, Neil?
I'm good. How are you? I see my acknowledgement.
And also for the team, we have Sasha, half man, half amazing. How are we doing, Sasha?
Just half man today.
Just half man today. One of these days it'll be half amazing. I look forward to that day. Well, thanks, guys. Look, we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So let's just go in with probably the biggest piece of news that came out of San Diego Comic-Con, which was the Marvel Studios, Hall H, and the announcement of the next two Avengers movies, which we knew were coming, but the updates to that, and the big casting reveal of Doctor Doom. So let's just go straight to that one. It was announced that the Avengers movies, which was going to be called Kang Dynasty, Avengers 5, that has been renamed now, and it's going to be called Avengers Doomsday. And they brought out on stage to reveal that Robert Downey Jr. was going to be returning to the MCU as Victor Von Doom, Doctor Doom. There have been rumors circulating about this over the last week or so on Twitter, but I brushed it off as silly rumors. Turned out to be very, very true. Sasha, what's your initial thoughts on it?
I don't care enough to care, dude. That's just it. Cool, whatever, bring it. Look, here's the thing. All right. If you are going to bring Robert Downey Jr. back, okay, here's what we know. All right. Here's what we know. And this is my own head canon. So don't take this as any kind of bullshit. So look, he's Tony Stark being Doctor Doom. All right. Clearly in that universe, because this Fantastic Four is not set in the MCU. It's set in a different timeline. It's in a different universe. Okay. So the way I see it is maybe he's playing Tony Stark, a different variant where Tony Stark becomes Doom and Victor does not, kind of thing. The only bad catch-22 with that, which I think is fucking stupid, is in the name. His name is Victor Von Doom, so that's a bit dumb. All right. That's a bit dumb. So I do understand if there's a bit of backlash because that's just stupid. But at the same time, it's the best or as good as thing that you could make that work. And it is a separate universe. You know what I mean? For it. Now, where do I sit with the movie? Okay. So I saw the trailer or the footage they showed at Comic-Con, and I really enjoyed it for the most part. I was like, okay, got a Jetsons kind of vibe, that 60s kind of swagger. They've created their own world reminiscent of the Jack Kirby art of the original comics kind of thing.
You're talking about Fantastic Four here. So
yeah.
Doomsday, Fantastic Four.
Yeah. So, because this all leads up to how I think about everything, right? So I have to bring it in. I thought it was solid footage. I think the cast looked great. The only thing that I think that shave the fucking mustache, Pablo. Like, come on. It's a role. I don't give a fuck. I've seen you without a mustache and you look great. Okay. You look great without the mustache. You look great. Look, for 20 years while this guy's been popping up in TV and stuff, there's no reason why he can't look like Reed Richards. Aside from the mustache, I liked his performance in the footage shown and stuff. Very much of a 60s man of the time. And I was like, cool. Like, I'm digging this. So where does this sit with me with RDJ? Well, I need to see it. You know what I mean? If he's playing Victor Von Doom, then I have more of a problem with it. Okay. Because it's fucking Robert Downey Jr. They could have got a billion other different actors. This is stunt casting. And that's exactly what this is. This is stunt casting because unfortunately they don't make films for us. They don't make films for the hardcore fans. They make it for for everybody else. And this incarnation of Fantastic Four is doing something completely different to what has come out before. So, sure, there are different ways in doing that. Sure, they could have just given us a straight remake like the original Chris Evans one, but make it better. I think a lot of us would have preferred that or were expecting that and be it set in the current MCU. But, you know, the minute all gloves were off was when they said it's set in a separate universe. And they said that a few months back. Okay. Because someone noticed the, in the logo, the background didn't have Stark Tower and that it was like a completely different, you know what I mean? And it didn't match any city on Earth. And that came out. So, you know, now cat's out the bag. It's a different universe. Look, the way I see it is this film is probably capping off the whole multiverse saga kind of thing. Yeah, you've got these Avengers films and stuff, but this is before those films. So, you know what I mean? It's part of that whole multiverse saga and serves, you know, that's why you do it that way. So we'll just have to see when it comes out. The trailer made me a little bit more excited because I liked what I saw. Had I not seen the first couple of episodes of The Bear, that he is a good cast for Ben Grimm. In fact, you know what? I'm sold. I'm like 1000% sold on him. I like Pablo. Pablo. Yeah, Pedro. Him. So I've got no problem with him as Reed. Just shave the tash. That's the only thing. It's like you're laying the side down, motherfucker. I know some people don't give a shit, but I like. If you're gonna act a role, act the fucking role. Like, you know, one plays Albert Einstein and not try to get hair and makeup to make you look like Albert Einstein. Like, are we gonna get like Adolf Hitler tashless? You know what I mean? When someone plays Hitler, no, they're not. No, they're fucking not. I want Reed Richards, not the big name.
You say that, but I've seen a film with Hitler in it and no Tash.
Okay, fair enough. Fuck that film.
For me personally, I don't associate Reed Richards as someone who has to be clean shaven. That to me doesn't.
You're just pandering now. That's bullshit.
Not Reed Richards for me is he has like the streaks in the hair. That's the defining appearance thing from him. I've seen him in the comics with a full beard. He was in Multiverse of Madness with a full beard. I didn't care then when John Krasinski played him. So to me, having the tash and a small slight beard doesn't bother me. So if anything, it's more of a representation of the 60s that he might have a tash, you know, because some might be clean shaven or just a tash rather than a full beard. I don't think you'd
maybe
with that. But anyway, okay, Neil. Before I come on to you, so Sasha touched on a few things there. So he spoke a little bit about the Fantastic Four. So the Fantastic Four it's got a slight addition to the title, so it's called Fantastic Four: First Steps. It was revealed that the movie is going to be starting shooting next week in the UK, and it is very much a 1960s style science fiction element in terms of where it's being set. So it's
they haven't started shooting. So what was that footage?
No, it was like pre footage. So they actually haven't started filming the movie yet. That's happening on Tuesday in London. What they did is they've been together for a while doing some concept shooting and stuff like that, and they filmed specific stuff for the teaser to cut some elements together. So they've said that it's basically it's in a different multiverse. It is set in modern day, but it's got that kind of 60s, but it's kind of more modern day as well. So you can have the modern day city, but with that 60s kind of futuristic element theme. Like you say, Sacha, probably a little bit like the Jetsons, that kind of vibe to it.
And I guess that would make sense to have the Fantastic Car in it.
Yeah, exactly. So footage. So there was some footage shown. One person has leaked it online. I have watched it. Neil, have you watched it yet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it showed the characters individually. It kind of set the vibe, set the theme. It shows the Fantastic Car briefly, and they brought that into Hall H as well, so people could see it. It's a very different design from what we've just seen. And going into spoilers here, we probably will a little bit going into Deadpool and Wolverine. So if you haven't seen it, you might want to come back. But we got the Fantastic Car in Deadpool and Wolverine, which is very comic book accurate. This is obviously a different version to it as well. But what else was there? And also at the end of the movie, we got a scene of Galactus at the end of that trailer as well, which was quite something. But all that is like concept. It's nothing properly filmed for the movie yet. At the moment, I haven't seen anywhere confirming that Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom is going to be in the Fantastic Four movie. I don't know. I'm presuming it's going to be. And it would make sense to have him. He has to be from another multiverse. He can't be like from, like, say, the Earth 616, which Marvel refers to as their main timeline, because that is RDJ. So it just can't be. It has to be from another universe, another timeline. And they did refer to him, and the Russos referred to him as Victor Von Doom, not as Tony Stark or any variant of Tony Stark. It is Victor Von Doom. So it would seem that he is just Victor Von Doom in another universe, and then he's going to be influencing Secret Wars and bringing those universes together. So whether it's a different universe or whether it's the same one as Fantastic Four is to be determined. There was nothing to say Robert Downey Jr. is playing the villain like in Fantastic Four, but we don't know at this point. Who knows? And for me, I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. I think it's almost it looks like a desperate move on behalf of Marvel to try and recapture some of the essence that when people said pretty much the last time the MCU was at its peak, which was Infinity War and Endgame. And I think it tarnishes Iron Man and that finish a little bit. I know we're in this multiverse now and anything can happen, but we see him and anyone said, oh, you can't recast Iron Man. It is RDJ. RDJ is Iron Man. You can't separate the two. So now you're getting him to play another character and such a pivotal character. You're going to be looking at him thinking that's Iron Man. That's Tony Stark. So I have quite an issue with that. And it just, like you say, the actors that are out there, like, we've spoken about like Cillian Murphy before or Javier Bardem and, these other people that could play Doom, to kind of go into this well, I don't know. I don't know if it's something that the Russos wanted, for them to come back, because I think they were quite hesitant potentially to step back into the MCU, because they said, creatively they were kind of done, but they said they can see a path to get to Secret Wars. And I'm wondering whether that part of that conversation was like, if you want us to do these next two movies, this is the way that we want to do it. And so I think that might have had a large part to play in it. But yeah, just, I don't know, just doesn't feel right to me. Neil, what are your thoughts?
I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Completely, unabashedly hate it. Because I made a list.
Go for it. Yeah.
So,
just to touch
as
on,
you said,
obviously, before we do that, the Russo brothers obviously coming back. That was like the other part, big announcement. Which that was announced first, and I was very, very happy with that. It's like they're great. Their track record in the MCU is fantastic. They did Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, fantastic. So like them coming back to do two big Avenger movie storylines, brilliant. But yeah, Neil, back to you.
So I mean, what I'm going to say echoes things that you said. It's, right? There are the top three actors in the MCU, time wise or film wise, are Chris Evans, Samuel L. Jackson, who've both been in 11 films, and Robert Downey Jr., who's been in 10. But for actual screen time, Robert Downey Jr. clocked in 5 hours, 57 minutes, and 45 seconds as Tony Stark / Iron Man. His closest competitor is Chris Evans, who was Steve Rogers / Captain America for 4 hours and 4 minutes and 0 seconds. So that's almost 2 hours longer, right? The man, as you said, the man is synonymous with being Iron Man. People don't even look at it as they're two separate entities. They are one and the same. Furthermore, there's only been one person to play Iron Man. It's not like, like if it was like, okay, we're going to get Tobey Maguire to play this character in the MCU. You can be like, oh, okay, fair enough. Because, I've seen 3 different Spider-Men. There's been one Iron Man who's the linchpin, the head of it all, the guy who essentially started it.
Yeah.
Right? He is the face of the MCU. And to recast him as a totally different character is a mistake because, you know, on one hand, you've got like, obviously, you know, as Sasha said, it's not being made for like these hardcore fans, but maybe it is. And, you know, because this is all based off, you know, a couple of announcements. This isn't, we haven't seen a film to say, okay, well, you know what, we saw it and everything that we thought initially has been proven right. But, you know, let's take someone who's not a diehard comic book fan, who has done nothing but watch these films and has a mild enjoyment of them, right? When you're saying to this person, Iron Man is back, but he's playing another person. Oh, okay. So he's a variant. No, he's just another person.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's evil Iron Man. No, he's not evil Iron Man. He's a totally different character. Okay, what's the character do? Well, he wears a suit of armor and can fire energy blasts. So he's Iron Man then. Just bad and wearing green. You know, it's like, and the thing is, it does. And when you really pin it down, Doctor Doom, and, you know, we have said this in the WhatsApp groups. We've said it physically when we met up. We've said it all over this podcast that Doctor Doom is the next big thing. He's okay, Kang, yeah, good for Kang, but Doctor Doom was the one.
Yeah,
we all had that lined up in our heads. We were like, Doom's going to be the one that everybody has to bang together to deal with Doom. Right? Okay. Now Doom is nowhere near as important because the guy you've got playing Doom is so well known as playing someone else in that same universe that we're not going to be looking at it like, oh my gosh, it's Doom. It's Dr. Doom. We're going to be looking at it like, oh, it's Robert Downey Jr. or it's Stark. And now Dr. Doom is less important. There's nothing that Dr. Doom will do or can do in those films that's going to make him as important. Shit, he could kill 10 Avengers, you know, in his opening act, and they'll just be like, oh, it's like what Tony Stark would be like if he was Thanos. Now it's like there's no individualism had from this.
Yeah, and we've already had sort of like Iron Man versus some of the other Avengers in Civil War. You know, we've already seen a lot of conflict between him and fighting others. I think from a narrative point of view, you could say that, will this add to the struggle of the Avengers trying to fight somebody who looks like their Tony Stark, who died for them to save the universe, you know, and it, you know, would Spider-Man be able to take him out? Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
there are some narratives which you can kind of pull on there to make it happen. Now, in terms of Iron Man or Tony Stark becoming Doom, there is a comic book version,
what if
there? So
there is, but the thing with that is, with that comic book, what happens is Doctor Doom transfers or swaps his consciousness with Tony Stark's consciousness. So it's Tony Stark inside Doom's body and Doom inside Tony Stark's body. And this happens when they're at college, right? So Tony Doom has his mind wiped, so he doesn't even know that he is Tony Stark. He just thinks he's he thinks he's Victor Von Doom, and he rises to the top. And, you know, there is Doom Industries, and Doom, who knows who he is but is pretending to be Tony Stark, rises up in America as you know, the Stark Industries, or whatever he called his company. And then they wind up battling, but all it is it's Doctor Doom dressed up like Iron Man, but his armor is in Doom colors, and then Tony Stark dressed up as Doctor Doom, but he's like the green is now red and the silver is now gold.
Okay.
Right. So even with that, and it's like it's a what if story, it's a very minuscule thing, but even with that, it's still a thing of it's still a thing of it's Doctor Doom is still a completely different person to Tony Stark.
Yeah.
He swapped their consciousness.
Yeah. And infamous
Right.
Iron Man is something different as well, because it's presumed that Tony Stark is dead and Victor Von Doom picks up the mantle of Iron Man. Yeah. Yeah. So
it's Doom as Iron Man.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. So I think the casting is just for me, I like sticking to just the question on the casting. The casting is just absolutely problematic. I know that Russos are amazing at what they do. And I know that despite how, the multiverse saga has panned out, Kevin Feige is amazing at what he does.
Yes.
But all of that said, what it really boils down to is what they're going to have to be able to pull out to make the entire world, whose lasting memory of Tony Stark, of Robert Downey Jr. is him sitting there dying as Tony, his funeral, his, final speech, that you're setting fire to all of that by having him turn up as Doom. Because even what you said, which was very, very, very valid point, how do the Avengers of 616 who know and remember Tony Stark, how do they deal with Doom?
Mm-hmm.
The issue that I see from that is, well, if for that to happen, Doom's got to take off his mask. You've got to see that it's Robert Downey Jr. Under that mask. And if that happens, then it's not Dr. Doom. It's the Stallone Judge Dredd, right? I don't want to see who's under there. I just want to know it's a powerful actor under there whose name just happens to not be Robert Downey Jr.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, look, when it comes to like Feige and the Russos, they've given us some incredible moments in movies and some incredible cinema experiences. And there's a certain level of trust there, but also the fact of where the MCU has been over the last couple of years, it has eroded some of that trust. You're just like, okay, we also know what you're capable of in terms of churning out like Thor, Love and Thunder and Quantumania, and the way they've handled Kang. They're supposed to be this big bad, and like everything he's been in, he's been defeated. And it was just like, and now it looks like that is just going to be put to the side. It is and done with now. So it's very, very strange. But Avengers Doomsday, that is going to be out in May 2026, and Secret Wars is going to be May 2027. Stephen McFeely, he's on board to do the writing for both those movies. He was half the writer who did Infinity War and Endgame. He also was a co-writer on Captain America: First Avenger, and Winter Soldier: Civil War. He does have a pen partner. Who was it? Christopher Marcus, who normally writes with him. Now he hasn't been listed as a writer, but it's potentially that he might come back and do it as well. So from a writing point of view, there is a certain element of trust there in terms of it seems like they're trying to get the whole team back together. The directors, the writers, composing and
okay, all right. I got to say this. I said this in a group chat. I was like, that's cool, the Russos are back, but I did say if you get those two guys, I'm balls deep in. So all I'm taking from this is I'm actually a little bit hyped about the Avengers films because the way I
interested at all, were you?
No. But they've got the dream team back. The Robert Downey Jr. thing, I share the concerns, but I don't hate it like some people have venomously hated it across the internet, because people have. I'm indifferent to it.
Yeah.
I'm indifferent to it. It's not what I wanted for sure, but do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And to be quite honest, there's a lot of things that I don't want, but do you know what I mean? From a bad situation, how does it work? I trust the team that are there enough where I'm like, let's see how we roll with this. But do you know what I mean? Am I hyped? Not really, but I'm a little bit more interested than I was, kind of thing. But that's me, because you got to understand, Phase 4 sucks dick in my world, like that, all of it, except for a few things. Thank God they didn't fucking persecute Spider-Man, because if Spider-Man got a shit deal out of any Marvel character, I've been done with Marvel, like hands down. You know, it's like, you know, I have my favorites, you know what I mean? So, you know, but aside from that, it's like, yeah, I don't care enough. It's where I am with fandom in general, because this company, Disney, don't care about fans.
Yeah.
They don't. They showed me that with Star Wars over the past couple of years. Phase 4 has not been great at all, in my opinion. It's been like, you got to understand what was special about the MCU was it was 23 films of gold. Sure, you had your Dark Worlds and, you know, whatever one else people didn't like at the time, but those films weren't dog shit films. They just weren't as good. You know what I mean? They just weren't as good. They were like good enough. You know what I mean? Like Age of Ultron wasn't great. It was okay. You know what I mean? It was another day in the neighborhood kind of film. But you know what I mean? It wasn't bad. It wasn't scathingly bad. And it wasn't, you know what I mean? Them doing things that as a fan, like for me, for a lot of people love Wakanda Forever. Me, I'm a fan of T'Challa. They should have recast. And I made that clear from that. That's one of my worst movies of Phase 4. The other one being Black Widow, which is probably an insult to the whole of the action movie genre, in my opinion. It's bullshit. And I very strongly say that. And you guys know I'm not going to rehash that. There's a lot more really turd burgers in Phase 4. And I mean like I don't know what the fuck was Miss Marvel. That was a travesty. All right. That was a complete travesty.
What, Miss Marvel, the TV show, or the
Marvel? No, sorry, the Marvels. But again, Miss Marvel, although it was all right, just not aimed at me. You know what I mean? Just not aimed at me, aimed at 15-year-old girls. That's fine. You know what I mean? And she's very charming. You know, if I'd say what was the best thing about the Marvels, it was Kamala Khan. Yeah. Hands down. She was really good in that role. They should do a movie of that because she's a good character. You know what I mean? But again, I don't know, man. Like, or maybe they should do another season of it. I don't know how well it did, but it knew its audience. You know what I mean? Not me, but someone out there liked it, and it wasn't bad in terms of story. However, Phase 4, outside of Loki, when I think of what my favorite thing in Phase 4 is, it's Guardians 3, both Spider-Man films, and Loki, and that's it. Yeah, I mean, everything else was just turd or average, or you know what I mean, like Yeah. So
let me pose a question to you guys. Would you, if given the choice, would you rather see Robert Downey Jr. be Victor Von Doom, or he returned as Iron Man from another universe for Secret Wars? If they're going to get all the band back together, say they got all the original Avengers back, they got the X-Men back from the X-Men Fox universe, and they just threw everything at it, Toby and Andrew Garfield and all that kind of. Would you rather see him come back as that, as a variant, or as this character now?
Variant. 110% variant. Because if you really wanted a mammoth defining, doesn't really ruin the legacy of Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man, if you really wanted that by bringing him back, bring him in as Superior Iron Man.
See, I don't feel this strongly about it.
Right?
I don't feel strongly about it.
Right?
I get it
I
from
do.
Neil. I get it from Neil because Neil's like a super fan. And don't get me wrong, I'm not discarding that because I feel the same way about Star Wars. You know what I mean? The state of Star Wars and shit, you know, to a degree. But, you know, with, like you said earlier, Neil, I won't have a problem if he keeps the mask on. All right. And it's just a sheer performance. And it's so different to Iron Man that it's like, shit, that's Doom. You know what I mean? I'll be like, cool. But if he takes off the mask and it's, hey, surprise. Yeah. Yeah. If he takes off the mask and visually looks like RDJ, then I'm going to be like, because this is the kind of casting you would have seen after the movie. Who played Doom? You know what I mean? Who played Doom? And you find out it's RDJ, and you would have accepted the performance for being amazing, and like a Darth Vader thing. You know what I mean? Like a Darth Vader thing where you know you don't see Anakin Skywalker's face. You know what I mean? You just see that's how I would have like done it. Like if you were going to do it that way. You know what I mean? It's, by the way, guys, may I emphasize that I am not a lover of this casting. Okay, I'm just championing all the typical arguments that are out there. All right, and the other thing is, may I add, is that you understand I've had to put up with this shit for the past 10 years over Star Wars. All right, so you know what I mean. When I throw that pendulum back at people are losing their minds. You know what I mean? And it's like, cool. And this explains why I am where I am with fucking Star Wars. I just don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care about big budget fucking comic book fucking bullshit movies anymore. I really don't. It's like, cool, this happened, that happened. Give a fuck. You know what I mean? I'd much rather watch the next Quentin Tarantino movie whenever the fuck that comes. I'm more excited about that. I'm more excited about James Cameron's Avatar than fucking MCU and Star Wars. And yeah, I said Avatar. Like, blue people and shit. So that's where I am mentally. So when all this news and blah de blah, I'm like, cool, it's white noise. I just want to be impressed in the theater. So I'm always going to have the devil's advocate view, and it might upset some people, but it's not because I don't love this shit. I love this shit so much that my heart was broken a long time ago by what Hollywood does to fandom and shit, that I no longer care because they don't make movies for the fans anymore. They make it for the next generation of people that don't know what this shit is. And do you know what I mean? If they're not making it for me, why endorse it with my monies? You know what I mean? Like, why do it? I don't have to pay for it. I don't need any of that shit. So I'll have the discussion on the level that I can keep a level head and not be emotionally invested in this shit. I don't care. I watched the whole of The Acolyte and I laughed my ass off as of how ridiculous it was, but I wasn't upset by it. I was like, well, this is the shit people want. Whatever, you know what I mean? Like, who gives a shit? That's why I like video games, because video games are great. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I didn't have a problem with The Acolyte, but Neil, would you be up for a variant of Iron Man played by somebody else then in Secret Wars? So say they did get Tom Cruise to come in and do an Iron Man and have somebody else play Iron Man. That'd be okay, right? Because it's a different version.
Here's the thing. Here's for me, obviously my thing on it is like this. When you have a variant of a character, it's in the word variant, it's variety. It doesn't need to be the exact same person, right? You can show differences. You can have it that there is the same actor playing a different version of that character and then they behave differently. Or you can have a totally different actor playing the role, behaving differently, or you can have a totally different character playing the role and even resembling and mimicking what we've seen before. It's a variant. It can be different, right? There's Coke, there's Diet Coke, there's Coke Zero. They're all Coke. But it's like, so in that regard, I could see it. But the reason I feel it's different is because I'm like, if you're introducing a character to your world, your realms, even if it's like, okay, we know the 616 is the sacred timeline, and there's the Fox version of things, and then there's a Universal version of things, right? And then there's the Sony version of things. We know that there's all different universes. Yes, cool, fine. But when you're introducing this person for the first time to your world, you cannot have somebody who is instantly recognizable as the face of your universe in that position. It wouldn't work. It's like, okay, spoilers for those who haven't seen Deadpool, there is a cameo in it. The cameo is Chris Evans playing Johnny Storm, as he did all those years ago, right?
Yeah.
Now, two things with that. One, he's already played the character of Johnny Storm somewhere else. And two, when you see him when we see him and he reveals, yes, this is my face, this is who I am. It's played for a joke when you think he's playing one person and he's playing someone
Captain
different.
America, yeah.
Yeah, you think he's playing Captain America and he turns out to be Johnny Storm. It's played for laughs. Mm-hmm. So that it's acceptable, right? Because the thing is, I'm to hold it up, even with Doctor Doom, even with Reed Richards in Doctor Strange, I don't like that the first time the MCU gets to see a version of Reed Richards, it's a variant who dies immediately, and now we have Pedro Pascal playing that role. Yes, it's different, it's a different universe, it's a different timeline, there's different spaces and all of that, but at the end of the day, you've introduced this character, and now the next time I see this character, it's somebody totally different. And it's not like, oh, it's just this isn't a Terrence Howard, Don Cheadle, situation where you couldn't get the deal with the actor, so you just swapped it for someone else. And I'm like, I'm not even saying like, oh, this is going to be confusing for non-fans or whatever. I'm just like, this is just, to me, it's poor decision making. It's decision making based off of the notoriety or the celebrity of a person over the continued high ranking of storytelling.
Yeah. Well, basically, I think that at the moment we're, like we say, we're still in the multiverse saga.
Yeah.
It's going to end with Secret Wars. So it could be very well that obviously Robert Downey Jr. starts the thing and he finishes the thing. And it's going to come full circle. I think the next bunch of films will be something very separate. I think that at that point you need to cut some clear ties. So when they move into the mutant saga, I think there needs to be some definitive lines cut. And hopefully by the end of
I'm
Secret
pretty
Wars,
sure there will be.
Yeah, and hopefully at the end of Secret Wars, we'll just have a settled timeline and take all the rest of that multiverse stuff out. Just go back to looking at the one timeline. And it's fine if certain characters come and stay within that one timeline. There's not a problem with that. Because obviously Fantastic Four, we expect to come over and then stay in our timeline and what have you. But maybe it just changes to one continuous timeline. Well, let's move on. So let's move on because we've got loads of stuff to cover. So we have Captain America, Brave New World. Giancarlo Esposito, he stepped in and he announced his official character. So he is the King of the Serpent Society, Seth Volker, also known as Sidewinder.
Cool.
In the comics, he's known for his teleportation abilities and strategic brilliance. But obviously, he was brought in just as a reshoot. So this movie's gone through a lot of changes. It's very much the movie's kind of a spiritual sequel to The Incredible Hulk. Because obviously, you've got Thunderbolt Ross, you've got Tim Blake Nelson's the leader. He's coming back. And then you've also got Liv Tyler coming back as Betty Ross. But basically, Ford's Thunderbolt Ross, he is now the US president. He's addressing the events of the end of Eternals and is meeting with world leaders called the Celestial Island Summit. So basically, they're discussing the big celestial that's left in the sea because we've had like 8 movies since then and no one's talked about it. And the celestial has appeared to be made up of adamantium. So the idea is that it's now a resource issue of adamantium. And that is where people are going to be coming in because it's like the most precious material in the world. Pretty much how I think it was vibranium with Wakanda. This is now the next big thing. So this is how adamantium is going to be introduced into the MCU. Ross is trying to recruit Sam Wilson, our Captain America, to build a new Avengers team, but it doesn't quite go out to plan. So it was quite a fun panel, I have to say. Mackie was like hyped, he was like full of energy. He said, he even shouted out, he's like, "That's Harrison Ford. Tell Tom Holland I got Harrison Ford." And he was just he's calling him out that, and he was like, he's like, he said to Tom Holland previously, it's like, well, you might have your own movie, but you'll never be 5'11". So now he's like, I've got my movie and you still can't be 5'11". So Mackie was all over Tom Holland there. Harrison Ford was on stage and he did a kind of a Hulk out moment on stage, which was quite fun. But there was some footage shown. I haven't been able to see that online, but it does show Harrison Ford transforming into Red Hulk in the footage.
Ooh.
So
you know what? I don't want to see that footage. I want to hear that for the movie, man.
Yeah, so it might come in a trailer, but so they saw it there. So it is very much, I mean, we presumed it was going to be him. We all thought it was going to be, Ross turning into Red Hulk. It very much ties in with the stories. And, when we saw a glimpse of the Hulk in the trailer, it looked like Ford, with the grey hair and stuff like that. And
I'm not gonna lie, the trailer
going to be February 2025.
I'm not gonna lie, the trailer that they showed a few weeks back, I didn't hate the little nod to the mustache. He's like, yeah. I was like, you know what? I went with it, and I believed it. I was like, fine. I was like, fine. That makes sense if he's going to be a politician. Because I'm not going to lie, marketing and PR, that's exactly what they'd say. And it was just like, yeah, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, I could have hated on it easily, but like, nah. You know what? Fuck it. Yeah. Cool.
He was asked on the panel. It's like, why no mustache? He's like, well, I would have grown one if they asked. But
exactly. So, but you know what? I think that's them showing, like, with what do you call it? Spider-Man. J.K. Simmons was adamant to have the buzz cut. Because he was like, that's the character. Mm-hmm. But they were like, no, you're in a different universe now, so you don't have to do that. Mm-hmm. And he still feels weird not having the buzz cut.
Yeah.
So he, like, the actor would prefer to have the buzz cut. So, well, it's, I guess they're like throwing in that whole multiverse thing. They didn't have to with this. But I guess with Harrison Ford, it's like Harrison Ford is probably, look, I don't give a shit. All right. I don't give a shit. All right. Every MCU actor that's an A-lister, they ain't got shit on fucking Harrison Ford. All right. He is an A-lister of the A-listers, in my opinion, in terms of legend. Okay. And marketing want to sell that guy all over posters and shit, no matter that he's fucking 90 years old or whatever the fuck he is now. So, you know what I mean? Yeah. They're like, shave the tash. You know what I mean? They're like, no.
Yeah. And to be honest, if it's the president's role, because you don't really have presidents with tashes or facial hair, so clean shave
you do back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah. As I say,
no, think about it. No, I don't think there's been one US president with like facial hair.
Didn't Eisenhower have one?
Eisenhower?
Yeah.
No, you'd have to fact check that.
Yeah, we'd have to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure.
Oh, no, he didn't. He didn't.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've never seen any US president with facial hair. I can't even remember any world leaders who've been like, mustache, beard, goatee, anything.
Yeah, we mentioned Hitler earlier, so I mean,
that's the only one.
And Saddam.
But that's the thing. That's
all the worst ones.
Yeah,
all the worst ones.
Exactly. So, what about did you? And I noticed when the first trailer dropped that they had the portrait of Liam Neeson, but not Liam Neeson. Had the portrait of
Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, which was a throwback to when in his movie, I think it was a Scary Movie. I think he was president, and I had a picture of Harrison Ford as a previous president behind him. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, I mean, this is very much more of like a Winter Soldier vibe. They are trying to make it more grounded, and going back to the whole super soldier thing. It's going to be interesting to see how our Sam Wilson Captain America can like face up to these guys, because he isn't a super soldier. He doesn't have these abilities. Do you think he
Well,
might pick him up in the film?
Do we know whether Sidewinder will get his abilities later on in the movie? Because obviously he can teleport, and like obviously he looks different because obviously
Yeah.
he's like got a cape and like all of this
Mhm.
shit. And
Hasn't
motherfucker
been
looks like he has
confirmed.
gills and stuff. So, but to be honest, yeah, I like the fact they got I forgot the actor's name from
Giancarlo
Mandalorian, and
Esposito.
yeah, I like the
Esposito,
fact they got him because you know what? You're giving an actor like him a character that isn't that well known to the general public, and
Mhm.
he gets to put his stamp all over this thing and make it a great thing, depending what they do with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
and I'm all for that. To be fair, so
Yeah. Neil, thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World?
When I saw the first trailer, I did not like the trailer,
Okay.
but I've watched it like a successful amount of times,
Mhm.
including actually seeing it in the cinema,
Mhm.
and I'm starting to feel different about it. And
Okay.
all of this information that come out, I'm enjoying it. I think the wrestling fan in me is still a little disappointed that seemingly all of Seth Rollins' scenes have been cut.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, because he
Kind
was
of-
supposed to be part of the Serpent Society. So I'm a little disappointed there. But I think the whole thing with the Harrison Ford and the mustache thing, I think I was just looking at it as a nice nod to the fact that obviously William Hurt isn't around anymore,
Mhm.
because they were like, lose the Tash or lose
Yeah,
the
yeah.
election. And it was like, oh, well, we saw William Hurt,
Mhm.
2 times, and both times he had a good old fashioned solid. He had
Yeah.
the solid man, the solid, nose brush. And without it, he would look completely different. And I was like, okay, I'm good with this. I'm good. That's a nice nod to saying it's a different character.
Yeah.
But in actuality, it does fit in very well with the fact that we said there's been no US presidents who have ever had facial hair. So, like,
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wish Ford was General Ross from the get-go now.
mm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose the part before wasn't as meaty, but it would have been perfect for him, like a Samuel, just to come in
Yeah.
and do a few scenes in the movies here and there, because he would have played that really well in Civil War and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
mhm.
but yeah. Anyway, let's move on to Thunderbolts. So we had, we didn't really get any updates on that per se. David
Mhm.
Harbour came out in full costume, and he was pretty upset that none of the rest of the cast was. He's like, I emailed you guys, you're supposed to all dress up. And he was in costume. But they're all just saying, how much they're enjoying working together, and it's a really collaborative thing. And they kept praising a lot of the stunt teams. So they're saying there's lots of stunts in this, and the stunt work is fantastic. They did bring some footage, and again, we haven't seen that at all. But they still haven't told us what the asterisk means. In terms of the name Thunderbolts, they asked whether it ties in, like, is Harrison Ford going to be in it, and General Ross, this kind of stuff. And Kevin Feige just said it was a time where when they use names, they just kind of reuse names. It's not linked at all. So but I thought that was quite interesting. And this is going to be
I
released
think
in
that's a
May
lie.
25. Yeah, I'm wondering whether that's going to be part of the asterisks, because they said you're not going to find out what it means until the movie. But where you've got with Brave New World, Harrison Ford trying to get together the Avengers or get Sam was, I'd imagine he's trying to get another team together to do some other stuff. The stuff.
Yeah, because there'd be focus groups.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. So I can imagine that happening. So May 25, we're going to have those 3 films. So we're going to have in February, I think it's February 14th, we're going to have Captain America: Brave New World. In May, we're going to have Thunderbolts. And then in July, we're going to have Fantastic Four.
Do we know if Chris Evans coming back?
In what capacity? As in, like, Captain America?
As in Cap?
No, nothing's been mentioned about that. I don't think he's keen to come back. He said the only reason he came back for Deadpool was because of Ryan Reynolds. He said if anybody else lost him, he was
that
like,
as well as he wasn't playing
Cap.
He was
Yeah.
playing. He was given that Cap. Well, Neil, how did you feel about Johnny Storm in that film?
I was fine with it because I was like,
Okay.
as soon as he popped up and I saw him, and then like as soon as obviously it started to lean towards what happened,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm already content.
Yeah.
Deadpool for me was what the multiverse of madness was supposed to be.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah,
It's
agree
just
with
like, just throw everyone in
that. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just,
I think what will happen regarding all the footage they've shown, I think they might hold off all of that until after D23. I think they will, because obviously Disney have their own big expo, which they do. They'll release some stuff. They'll talk more about Fantastic Four and the additional casting that they've done. And I imagine we probably won't see any of that footage officially until after D23. So we'll have to wait and see. But that wraps up the stuff with the Marvel. We've gone on for quite a while about that, but it's a very passionate topic indeed. There wasn't much from DC Studios, even though they were there. So they did drop a trailer for Creature Commandos from James Gunn, the new animated show, which is part of the DC universe, the new one moving forward. The trailer looked quite good. It's got some good voice talent. Viola Davis is back as Amanda Waller. We've got Frank Grillo as Rick Flag Sr., and he's also playing him in the live action Peacemaker.
And Superman.
And Superman as well. So yes, he's in Peacemaker and Superman, because Peacemaker, the new series, is going to be the new canon where the first one wasn't. You've got David Harbour as Frankenstein, Alan Tudyk as Dr. Phosphorus, Sean Gunn as G.I. Robot and Weasel. So again, really, really good cast. Have you seen the trailer, Sasha?
No, I've not seen the trailer.
That's pretty good. Neil, what do you think?
It's weird. I really enjoyed the trailer, but it was sort of like I had a half enjoyment. I enjoyed it because it looked interesting, but it was sort of like it's more James Gunn than it is DC.
Okay.
I mean, I imagine that's what DC wanted. That's what they wanted. But the reason I say that is, like you've got Frankenstein and Frankenstein's bride there. You've got Weasel, you've got G.I. Robot, you've got Rick Flag Senior. You've got another Suicide Squad, another James Gunn Suicide Squad, all made up of misfits and everything. And it in that regard, I'm like, yeah, cool. Like I'll enjoy this. But then at the same time, I'm like, but how am I supposed to rectify this in my head with the fact that, Batman, Superman, and co.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, well, I mean, it really kicks off with Superman, which is going to be released within 2 weeks of Fantastic Four in July 25. So that's going to be interesting. The other thing DC announced, they revealed their new DC Studios logo. It is basically an homage to the Milton Glaser's DC logo that ran from 1977 to 2005. The round circle, like with the DC on the tilt, with the stars around it, as DC Studios. They did an animated version of that as well, where you had the old school Superman, like from the original comics, which had the chain around him, and he busts out the chain, and then the logo flips to show DC. I don't know if that's going to be the standard or whether that will change on each movie. So I'd imagine they've done that for the Superman movie. But then when you get your Wonder Woman, Batman, it'll probably have that artwork flip and change depending on the character. So, and the only other thing that we had from DC, which is not part of the main DC universe, it is Matt Reeves' DC expansion, which is now called the Batman Epic Crime Saga. So that is the Batman and everything that is to do with Pattinson's Batman. So they talked a little bit more about the Penguin, and they made it clear that it's a series with no heroes, only complicated characters. So it's very unlikely that we're going to see Batman in it or anybody else potentially. And they said they're set approximately a week after the events of the Batman, and it sees Farrell reprising his role as Oswald, the former right-hand lieutenant of crime boss Carmine Falcone. With Falcone dead and Gotham City flooded in the aftermath of the Riddler's attack, the Penguin centers on Oz's plot to seize control over the remains of his boss's criminal empire from Sophia Falcone, Falcone's daughter and heir apparent. It is confirmed that he's going to appear in the Batman 2, but they've also confirmed that the other spin-offs that they had planned, which was like Gotham City Police Department and Arkham Asylum, they've been scrapped. So they're not happening now. And that's it. That's pretty much all DC had to say. Are you guys looking forward to like the Penguin and like revisiting that universe?
No,
No?
I don't care for it.
Yeah.
Literally, I'll watch it. I'll give it. I'll give it a shot. But look, I made my feelings on the Batman very clear. I think it's probably one of the worst Batman adaptations ever made. I didn't like it. What can I say? And I was pro Patterson.
Yeah.
So
we know your feelings on that, bro.
Yeah.
We know your feelings.
Yeah,
Mhm.
don't really care for it. I can't wait till Batman's finished. They give it a break for 10 years. And then when I'm old, they do a new one. And I'm like, yeah, I miss that Bat son of a bitch. Okay. Because at the moment, we've had so many Batmen that I just don't care. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it done. It's been done well. I'm bored of Batman and his fucking parents shooting him and childhood trauma. Don't care. You can't make a Batman movie for me that's going to make me excited.
Well,
it's just
we'll see him again in Batman Brave and the Bold. One of the rumors that have been going around recently is potential casting for Batman in Brave and the Bold. There's going to be Glenn Powell.
What is Brave and the Bold?
The new Batman movie.
The new Batman movie with Batman.
The James Gunn universe.
I don't care about that shit. I really don't. Like I said, see comment 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like, another one. Well, okay, cool. Like, don't care.
So, Neil, what do you think about Glenn Powell potentially being Bruce Wayne Batman?
I be honest, after seeing both Hitman and Twisters recently, I think that Glenn Powell is like he is the next generation's Tom Cruise. If he stays on his trajectory, he will be the biggest male star in films for a good while to come. You got the Timothy Chalamet and the Robert Pattinsons and the Zac Efrons. You boys will do your things, and you will be you'll be the Pacino or you'll be the De Niro, and you will be those guys. But the Tom Cruise will be, there's only ever going to be one Tom Cruise. But if you had to, say, well, who would be
the next one?
That icon next? Glenn Powell. And I think him as a young Batman, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely. He's got the charm, he's got the charisma, he's got the look about him where, you just look at him and you're just like, that I can see that Bruce Wayne in him.
Yeah, it's because he started.
I haven't seen
James Gunn and David Cornsweet on social media, so that's what piqued everyone's interest. Oh, okay, he's following those guys.
Okay, yeah, I know. I know. Like, I like him as an actor. As Batman, I don't know nor care because of reasons. It's the next Batman since last Tuesday. There's been more Batman than I've had hot dinners lately, so I don't care. I care about good movies. If I like them, I'll go on about them. If I don't like them, trash. And if you take 4 hours to wrap up a fucking movie after the main plot's done, fuck that movie. So
Okay, well, let's talk about some other stuff that happened at Comic-Con. So, The Boys, we know season 5 is going to be the last season of that, but we are getting a prequel series called Mort Rising. So, they're getting a spin-off with Jensen Ackles returning as Soldier Boy and Air Cash reprising her role as Stormfront. So, it's going to be a prequel set in the 1950s and about their corruption and how the war sort of became what it was. So, that'd be interesting. I think, I'm not sure what they're doing with Gen V now because of the passing of the actor who was in that. I think a lot of it's centered around his character, and there is talks potentially about scrapping the whole thing and just trying to incorporate some of those characters in season 5. So I'm not entirely sure what they're doing on that. Now, Sasha, I don't know if did you see the trailer for Like a Dragon Yakuza?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I did.
Right.
Yeah,
so this is adapted from Sega's video game series. The Like a Dragon Yakuza TV show brings to life that basically video game world. So we got a trailer for it. It's sort of an origin story and will cover 10 years of Kazuma Kiryu's life and his brotherly blonde with Nishiki. The first 3 episodes will drop on Prime on October 24th. So, Sasha, what did you think of it? Because I know that this is a game that
I liked it. It was more of a teaser, but it didn't really show. If you don't know anything about the game, it doesn't show you jack shit. I mean, other than my man has a cool ass tattoo on the back. But yeah, Yakuza the video game should have been made into a film like years ago, or a series as well. I don't know. It's literally about the Yakuza. Literally about the Yakuza. You play as Kuri. You're a Yakuza. What's it? Your Yakuza boss has died or just died and stuff, and you've been turfed out your clan as well. So because your best friend has like taken over basically and turfed you out of your own clan because you were going to be the next one to take over the clan. So you're turfed out. Yeah, it's about you trying to like figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
All of that shit. It's such a good game. Actually, does your boss die? I think your boss die. Something happens. I can't remember. It's been a while. It's been like 4 years since I played the game, and I worked on Yakuza Kiwami 1 and 2 and Yakuza 0 at Sega. Okay, I actually worked on those games. Okay, and I worked on the original Yakuza back in 2005 before anyone knew what the fuck that was for about 2 weeks. So, but I worked on the remakes and stuff for PS4 and stuff like that. So, this story, this game is quite like, oh man, like I really want to see it, because when you play Yakuza Kiwami, you're like, why isn't this a film or a show or something? And I do believe there was a movie that was made, but I've not seen it. A Japanese movie that was made. But the fact it's getting a show, bit confused by Like a Dragon, because that's a spin-off game of the series, funnily enough. So I wonder if they take some elements from that, maybe. I don't know. But we'll see, man. It's gonna be cool. If you like Yakuza stories and stuff like that, check it out, man. So yeah.
Cool. Neil, are you familiar with the franchise at all?
I know what it is. I just never played it, never had any deep dive interest into it. So
it's a good series,
right.
But for those fans of Dexter, Michael C. Hall announced he's returning to the role in a new sequel series titled Dexter Resurrection, and it'll take place in present day and premiere in 2025. Either of you Dexter fans?
No,
never seen it.
No, neither have I. The last thing I was probably going to touch on was Star Trek. So Michelle Yeoh, she stepped out at Comic-Con to introduce the trailer for her new Star Trek movie, Star Trek Section 31. And that drops her Star Trek character from Discovery. The character was Philippa Georgiou, I think it is, back on the fringe of Federation activity as part of a secret division of the Federation. So it was announced originally there's going to be a series, but now it's in a movie for Paramount Plus. It's going to be coming out in 2025, and there's more Star Trek to come with Strange New Worlds Season 3, and a new spin-off, Starfleet Academy, which is currently filming. That's all the kind of news I've got for San Diego Comic-Con at the moment. Have you guys got anything else?
No, not yet. I mean, it's only like 11 a.m. in California right now. So we got a good couple hours left before something drops.
We got another day before something else. I did put out on Twitter a poll to see how people felt about Robert Downey Jr. returning to play Doctor Doom. And gave them 3 options. It was, but coming in third was not sure yet, 25% of the audience. Nope, don't like it, 37%. And at 38%, love it. So it's really splitting people's opinions. So, which is not surprising because of how we all feel about it. So, we'll have to wait and see. I think there's a lot of fans of a different generation who would just be, it's Downey Jr. coming back, it's going to be great. And I understand that. But if you really understand the character of Doom and what he means to comics and what he could be in the MCU, I don't think it's the right way to go. But
this is just it, though.
That's my summary.
But that right there is just it. Like, films don't mean anything anymore. It's all content. No one goes out there to make a film and make a great film the way a Tarantino, James Cameron does. It's just content. You know what I mean? Only when we get those Oscar films where you actually see shit from filmmakers that want to make and put their mark on shit. We're not addressing films or movies. We're addressing content. And unfortunately, in the era of content where all you get is just random shit, people love random shit. You know, your general movie-going audience don't really care as much as people like you or I. Hell, they're even using the term content to address films these days. How many times have you heard a movie is returned to as content rather than a movie? All right, this is true. These are facts.
Yeah.
All right, I'm here for movies, and unfortunately, the comic book genre, the genre that I loved and was championing throughout my teens and my 20s, has just become content. They're not great movies. It's just average slush. Every now and again, you'll get a Deadpool and Wolverine, which is great and amazing. But, you could get the Marvels the next minute. So, like I said before in my Deadpool and Wolverine review, step in the right direction. Love the course correcting, but I need 5 wins from Marvel in a row. And I'm not even joking. For me to re-spark that fire, you know what I mean?
You can't say Marvel's back off the base of one movie.
Yeah, you can't.
It's like Spider-Man No Way Home. Oh, Marvel's back. Then it's Quantum Mania. Oh, they don't know what they're doing. And then it's Guardians. Oh, Marvel's back. And then you get Thor: Love and Thunder. It's just like, no, they're not back. You get some good movies. But to be back, like I say, there's a lot of making up that they need to do for you to consider to be back.
I do think they're self-aware of that, though.
They are.
Look, well, when I say they, Feige, the thing is, it's like, put it this way. I know online there's been people saying, they should replace Feige. It's like, no, I'll tell you what. The minute Kevin Feige leaves Marvel is the day Marvel is dead, in my opinion. Because now all you've got is the Disney suits.
Yeah, there's some control.
Right? And the minute you have the next guys at Disney take over, unless they prove they are actual people that know the material and know their shit, you're just another suit.
It'll turn into a Sony. It'll turn into a Sony-verse, the way they handle like Spider-Man and all those characters.
Yeah.
If you don't have the right person in charge.
100%. So, you know what? It's like he's got bosses and he does the best he can do when, you know what I mean? Like, here's the thing. Why do you think they've done the multiverse saga anyway? You got the Fox thing. It's all about IP. It's all about grabbing the rights to shit. All right. And making shit consistent. Do you know what I mean? If Marvel had all of the IP from the get-go, we wouldn't have an Iron Man movie. We wouldn't have a Cap movie. You know what they would have been leading out the charge? Spider-Man and X-Men.
Yeah,
that's a fact. Why? Because they're the biggest IPs, you know? And then we would have got the other shit leading to Avengers.
Yeah.
You know? He's built it a certain way. You know what I mean? And I get that. I totally get that. But the thing is, the multiverse thing is getting people used to a great reset. Yeah, I reckon when they do Galactus in, I don't know, the next couple of phase 10 or whatever, after that, I think they'll reboot the MCU from scratch.
Yeah. And it's probably the right thing to do because at the moment, it's just lack of consequence with the multiverse. Because you feel whatever happens, you can bring someone back or do something different and shift it. So there is just generally feels like a lack of consequence. So, but like we say, hopefully with the Russos and that original writing team coming back, they can kind of put it in the right direction. So,
well, hopefully
2025 will tell us. I think by the end of, by the summer of 2025, we'll know where we're at and how we feel about the MCU and everything. So, gentlemen, anything else before we go today?
No.
We're good. No, we've had a good event today. But thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for being here, and we appreciate you. If you are watching us on YouTube, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe. We would appreciate it. And if you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, then please make sure you follow and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We would appreciate you. And thank you very much, guys, for being here. We appreciate you. And until next time, peace out.
Peace.